What's up, guys? It's Lord Botha here for another video, and the state of the AAA gaming industry's finances is it's not good, boys. It's not good at all. Let's take a look at some of the big players and see exactly how they're doing. Well, first off, and this is a bit of old news, you have EA that canceled their Titanfall 3, which would have been a bona fide seller, so they can rework Apex again, while also laying off more than 300 employees. So yeah, everything's going great there. The only good news for the consumers there is that they pretty much reiterated the fact that they don't plan to actually raise their game prices. So, good? But in the wake of that, you have this that came out just a couple days ago, which, from Insider Gaming, states Warner Brothers Games revenue fell 48% in Q1 because they have no games. And I gotta be honest with you, my first reaction reading this headline was, it's really only just 48%? And I know a lot of people in finance are like, 48% is a massive number for your revenue to fall off of for any company. But if you know Warner Brothers Games, and you know the problems they're having right now, you know that the fact that this number is not 60-something is absolutely amazing. The gaming arm of Warner Brothers saw a revenue decrease of a whopping 48% year on year. In a report published online, most of the decreasing revenue was attributed to the company simply not releasing any major games. Yes, in fact, they don't really have that many games slated to release anytime soon. I mean, the closest game that they probably have to being released is Hogwarts Legacy 2, which is wild to think that that's the game that's closest to having a sequel made to it, seeing that it came out in 2023. And that game is still 1, maybe 2 years away from being released. It's supposed to move in lockstep with a TV show that hasn't even started filming yet. And everything else that was supposed to be right now for them has been canceled. Monolith, their Wonder Woman game, got canceled and the studio shut down. Any game that they possibly could have worked on got shut down. They're like smaller, I think, mobile game studio. That got axed. And of course, Kill the Justice League, that was a live service game. It's supposed to be the thing that's farming revenue for them right during these dry patches. But it was such a terrible, awful idea that surprisingly nobody saw coming that it already got shut down because nobody was playing it. So yeah, when you produce nothing, you don't make any money off of that nothing. So expect things to get worse for Warner Brothers as they continue not to produce anything in terms of gaming. Speaking of hard numbers L's, here's one of the kings of hard numbers L's in the gaming industry, which is France's Ubisoft. This comes to us from Reuters, which states, Ubisoft's full year net bookings fall 20.5%. France's largest video game maker, Ubisoft, on Wednesday posted a 20.5% fall in full-year net bookings to 1.85 billion euros due to delayed releases and underperformance of some of its leading titles. However, it is important to note that those bookings are mostly because games like Assassin's Creed Shadows were supposed to come out during that time frame to actually make the money. They end up being delayed, now falling under a different time category, which it states here, Ubisoft said fiscal 2025-2026 results will benefit from its strong bounce-back catalog, especially Assassin's Creed Shadows and the release of Siege X, which is expected to strongly grow franchise net bookings. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows basically is going to show up on a different spreadsheet, is what that's saying, which is going to make that spreadsheet actually look good, because Assassin's Creed Shadows did do fairly well. It was bought fairly well, and most people thought it was going to be bought fairly well. The only problem was nobody thought, even if it did exceed what you think it should do, was it ever going to be enough to actually save Ubisoft from the hole they've dug from themselves. And that one bright spot on the spreadsheet, it's not stopping Ubisoft from still looking bad. As they announce here through GameSpot, Ubisoft delays multiple upcoming games. However, Ubisoft won't say what these delayed games are. As part of Ubisoft's latest earnings report, the company announced that it's delaying multiple upcoming games. Ubisoft did not say what these games are, but noted that they are, quote, some of our biggest productions, I assume that means Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. And since they have a laundry list of Assassin's Creed games they plan on producing, including remakes of previous games, my guess is it's probably some of the bigger Assassin's Creed games. Ubisoft said it's delaying these unspecified games to, quote, create the best conditions for success. It opted to delay these games, quote, after a review of our pipeline. My guess is that means that they're trying to figure out how many more games they can actually produce as Ubisoft before they eventually go bankrupt, have to shut down, and then move on to the next secondary company they created with Tencent and actually produce their big name games there. Because that's why they've hidden all their big name IPs in that second company, right? Is because they know bankruptcy is eventually coming. It's just a matter of how many games, how many failures can we actually produce in old Ubisoft before we have to move there. But who knows, guys? Maybe there's a Hail Mary in their bag of tricks that could save them, like putting their games on Xbox Game App for PC. This comes to us from Ubisoft on Twitter, and it states, for the first time ever, 16 of our games, from new releases like Assassin's Creed Shadows to classics like Watch Dogs 2, I wouldn't say Watch Dogs 2 is a classic, I would say that it's the worst in the series, are available to buy on the Xbox app on PC. And my first question is, what the hell is the point of Ubisoft Connect? What was the point of your own launcher, your own Plus program, having your whole sort of ecosystem where your games are supposed to be played on, launched from, and bought through, if you're just going to put your stuff on everybody else's stuff? Like I get the grayness in terms of exclusivity with the consoles, right? Xbox and PlayStation and Steam and all that. But individual development companies like Ubisoft, just why? It seems like a waste of time and money. What am I talking about? It's Ubisoft. Of course they're going to waste time and money. But while we're on the subject of Microsoft and Xbox, the same company that now brought you the $730 Xbox Series X Galaxy, whatever the hell it's called, they should just call it the Xbox Series XXX, because you'll feel like you're getting f***ed if you buy one, because you're paying the top dollar for inferior tech, and you might as well shell out an extra $100, $150 buy a low-end gaming PC. Well, those guys, they just fired a whole bunch of people. From GameSpot, Microsoft lays off 7,000 people in the latest round of massive cuts. Microsoft has confirmed another round of massive layoffs. The company told CNBC that it's laying off 7,000 people, or about 3% of its workforce. In 2023, Microsoft cut 10,000 jobs, with Xbox and Bethesda workers impacted. In 2024, Microsoft closed several gaming studios, including Tango Games Works, and laid off staff members in a round of job losses. After Microsoft's deal to buy Activision Blizzard was completed, it laid off 1,900 staff. In September of 2024, Microsoft cut a further 650 people from the Xbox team. So most likely, a lot of people from Xbox in this round of layoffs also getting canned. So not only is Xbox now not looking out for their consumers by raising their prices significantly, just because their hardware revenue is actually down, and they're trying to make cuts, it seems, while also raising prices to make up for it, because hardware, especially within the bounds of Xbox, is where they make all their money. It doesn't seem like people are wanting to buy it. In fact, if I'm being conspiratorial a little bit here, I would say that Xbox actually wants all this to happen. Microsoft and Xbox want to cut workers. They want to get people to not buy their hardware so they can move directly into being the number one force in what will become the content wars, not the console wars. No longer making hardware and instead engaging in digital service warfare. Who's going to be able to provide the most amount of content on their online platforms? A streaming wars of video games, if you will. And Microsoft and Xbox know they can get there first. It's probably best for them, just like it was best for Netflix. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of people are going to get trampled along the way, including the consumers and the people working at Microsoft and Xbox. Plus, they're going to look really bad financially as they move through this transition. Not that it really matters to Microsoft because they have go fuck yourself money. Speaking of people who also have that kind of money, and I would argue are even more greedy than Microsoft, PlayStation. Now they actually have some good news. And this comes to us from Insider Gaming, and it's entitled, PlayStation 5 has now sold 77.8 million units and tracks identical to PS4 sales. Round of applause, everyone. Sounds really good, doesn't it? But apparently it's not enough. And this comes to us from IGN, which states, Sony considering price rises amid 685 million impact on its business from tariffs. Could the cost of PS5 go up? And they mean PS5 go up in America. Chief Financial Officer for Sony, Lin Tao, suggested that Sony is considering passing some of the costs onto the price of its hardware, which would potentially include the PS5 itself. He stated, quote, in terms of the tariff, we are not simply calculating the simple tariff to come up with the 100 billion yen, that's at $685 million, but thinking about the currently available information and also looking at the market trend. We may pass on to the price and also shipment allocation. So he's not just considering the cost of the tariff there, right? Which is probably significantly less than this. He's also saying, well, the market cost might go up later. He's making excuses for charging you more for the console that go beyond just this tariff. The tariff is just a baseline to justify an increased price. He's also increasing the price on that increased price by using numbers that they're effectively making up. Because if the market trend doesn't mean that costs are going to go up and they end up charging you more money because they expect those costs to go up, you think he's going to give you discounts on systems later? I don't think so. Sony CEO Hiroki Totoki actually said this, though, and gave a different solution. He stated, quote, these hardware, of course, can be produced locally. I think that it would be an efficient strategy, but PS5 is being manufactured in many areas. Whether it's going to be manufactured in the US or not, it needs to be considered going forward. We are not in such a critical situation. That's a really interesting statement, because he's effectively saying, hey, if things get really bad, we could actually, make these consoles in the United States and they'd be way cheaper for the people in the United States instead of passing the cost of the tariffs and whatever numbers we make up onto the consumer. But we're not in such a critical situation where we need to think about doing that. By the way, critical situation is his way of saying we don't think that we can't get away with what we plan to do, so we're going to do that. If we didn't think we could get away with what we're going to do, we would actually do the less costly for the consumer way. But we're going to do this instead, because we can get away with it. The article goes on to state that most analysts expect the PS5 Pro in particular to see a jump, something that has caused some to rush out and buy one before Sony makes an announcement. And that hurts my heart, because the PS5 Pro, from everything I've read, heard, and seen about it, there's not that much difference from the PS5 Pro and the PS5. Some have even brandished the term scam. One of these analysts said Sony has raised the price of its console multiple times outside the United States. There is a reluctance from both Sony and Microsoft to raise prices in the US, given the size and importance of the market when it comes to console sales. Maybe for Sony and PlayStation, but I highly doubt that Microsoft cares at this point. They've already raised their prices. It's quite clear they don't care. So yeah, as bad as you think Sony was treating the consumer, it turns out even though they're doing really well in the numbers apparently, they're still going to continue to abuse the consumer by raising their prices yet again, even though they admit, their CEO admits, they have a solution where they don't necessarily need to do that, but they think they can get away with doing it, so they're going to do it. And just all this news, from the development financial stuff to the console financial stuff, all of it is bad for AAA gaming. All of it is bad for the big boys trying to put out video games. And the smaller independent stuff, the PC gamer stuff, that's what's really going to benefit from this. And we're reaching a breaking point when it comes to the financials in the gaming industry. I think we're going to see a pretty big shakeup soon in terms of what companies look like what, and which companies are going to be here today and possibly gone within a year. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, appreciate you watching all of it. We'll talk to you again later.